Yeah, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session 3, Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning in Healthcare, Synergy for Accuracy and Sustainability. I welcome all our esteemed speakers and guests, Dr. Virender Garg, Dr. Chandra Shekhar, Dr. Deepak Garg, and Dr. Rahul Garg here with us today, and Dr. Shivani Singh. This session will address certain key points based on the importance of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the healthcare segment. We will try to see how artificial intelligence-enabled genomics works as a tool in the determination of personalized treatments at all levels. We will also examine the role of 3D printing as an additive tool for doctors to replicate patient-specific organs. Various advancements in 3D printing for healthcare segment can also be discussed. Use of AI and ML in point-of-care devices to facilitate medical practitioners as well as common population will also be discussed. I now welcome our presiding guest, Dr. Chandra Shekhar, who is Head Innovation and Translation Research and IPR, ICMR New Delhi, India. Dr. Chandra Shekhar is currently Head of Innovation and Translational Research at ICMR Delhi. His areas of expertise include innovation and translational research, artificial intelligence. He's also CEO Medical Devices and Diagnostics Mission Secretariat, ICMR Delhi. He is an eminent name in introducing new technologies in the healthcare segment for meeting the goal of affordable healthcare. We have with us Dr. Deepak Garg. Welcome, sir. He's the director leading India.ai and director NVIDIA AI Research Lab, professor and chair. He's also computer engineering engineer from the Bennett University. Dr. Deepak has an extensive experience in the field of AI and ML, with nearly 20 years of career success in establishing new business, enhancing the customer base in project delivery under deadlines and quality metrics, higher education, change management, administration, research project management, deep reinforcement learning, and data analytics, so on and so forth. He is a key figure in Indian academia and startups with his IEEE leadership and social connect. I now welcome our other keynote speaker, Dr. Rahul Garg. Welcome, sir. Dr. Rahul Garg is an innovation strategy and clinical advisor in the Reinsurance Corporation of America, Canada. Dr. Rahul earned his MBBS and MD from GMC Patiala and thereby to kindly give his keynote address. Dr. Deepak Garg, can we have your slides, please? Sir, we cannot hear you. I think you are on mute.
It is saying you can't share your slides.
Okay. So can we have the access given to him, please?
Sir, now you can try, please.
Okay. So try now.
Okay. Just 1 minute. Can you see it?
No, sir. Yeah,
No?
we have it.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, clearly, sir. Please go ahead.
I can't see my slides.
It is still showing that your sharing your screen, but there's nothing up on it. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry, good afternoon. Thank you, CIBioD team from PGI, and thank you, Dr. Virender Jain, for inviting me on this important event. So today we are going to talk about the healthcare industry, how the AI is bringing synergy and it is helping to bring sustainability in the healthcare sector. So I will straight away come to the key challenges that we are facing. So we are working on healthcare problems from last 4 years in leadingindia.ai as well as NVIDIA Bennett Research Center on AI. So what we found and we experienced that these are the three major issues. If we can get over these issues, then the speed of increase in the acceptability of the healthcare applications as well as the intervention of AI in healthcare will be multifold. So the first one is data ecosystem. If we go into the little detail, so the doctor's job is to diagnose as well as to give the prescription. So the doctors, most of them are not interested in what is AI and how we can help in AI. So they are ready to accept AI if they have some doable as well as some applications which will be helpful in their work. But there are very few doctors who will be will be taking the plunge themselves and try to learn some part of AI and bring an interface between the medical world as well as the AI world. So we have seen some people in other countries who otherwise by profession are doctors, but now they are completely embedded into different developmental applications of artificial intelligence. And some of them are working with top companies like Google and Microsoft and others, and have been able to give up very new systems. So the data ecosystem is a challenge because all the small clinics, small hospitals, small doctors, they don't first know how to collect data from the patient. So even if they are doing some X-ray, they are doing some MRI scan, or they are doing some simple OPD. So they don't know first is that how this data will be used by the AI and how important it is for AI. And they don't know how to anonymize it so that they don't land in a soup later on. They don't know how to store it. They don't know in which format to store it, and they don't know how to transfer it to somebody if they are supposed to share it with someone. So what is happening is in some countries, in some hospitals, there has been a kind of a data pipeline as well as a data ecosystem which is being developed so that all the other functionaries of this whole chain, including doctors, including healthcare workers, including hospital staff, including hospital management, so they are kind of means not directly involved because this is a kind of a background channel ecosystem that will work. And automatically, if they are agreeing to share the data based on the contract as well as the cost negotiations, if they are ready that their hospital or their unit is ready to share the data, then we can implement that particular software or that particular system there, and automatically then these data can start transferring. So this is the importance of data ecosystem. So not only at a organization level, but it can be implemented at a city level, at a municipality level, or at a country level, or on some other hierarchical levels, depending upon how we want to implement this. So data ecosystem will cut away the fears of the practitioners because they don't want to come into any problem because they have shared the data. So second important thing is explainability of AI. So recently also we have seen some reports that the adaptability of AI in healthcare is very low. And the adaptability of AI in government sector is still too low. And one of the major reason is the explainability of AI. So that is why AI has still been only an assistant to the doctor or assistant to the hospital. AI, there is not even a single example where AI has replaced the existing system because of the reason of explainability. So some of the top universities in the world, they have not opened the center of research in AI they have opened the Center of Research in Explainability of AI, because that has become a major roadblock to implement AI. So if some of the audience, they don't know what is explainability of AI, I will take 1 minute on it. So let us say you are implementing a system that where you will tell the patient that whether you have cancer or not, based on whatever his diagnostic tests that have been done. So that system can be 97% correct, because no AI system will be 100% correct. So that means every 100 patients, the 3 patients will get wrong results. Either means he will be false positive or he will be false negative. So in both the cases, it is a problem. So if any of those patients go to the court or gets to the uh, an agency and demands justice, and wants some penalty to be put on the hospital or the staff, then who is responsible? Whether it is a software engineer who has developed that algorithm, or a researcher who has innovated that algorithm, or the software company, or the owner of that, or the hospital staff, or the doctor, or the hospital management. So there are tens of people involved in the whole keychain. So there is nothing to explain, because as of now, the technology cannot tell that why this particular case was given a wrong output, why this particular case was said false positive. There is no means you can backtrack and find out. If you can find out, then probably you can correct it. So as of now, means the people are still working on it, doing research, that if they can pinpoint, they can make a mathematical model, they can make a inductive model where they can tell that why a particular case has come as false positive or false negative. So that is very important. Unless that thing is not solved, any life critical system will not get implemented in any hospital. So only the sport systems where the AI can only kind of assist the doctors in taking some decision, or can kind of confirm his diagnosis, only those kind of systems will be implemented. And the third is moral, ethical, as well as legal framework. So many hospitals, they, even if they want to implement some AI and the AI solution is available, but they are not implementing, because as of now, the guidelines are not available. So they don't want to spend, let us say, $1 million on implementing the system, and later on they are in violence, or in violation of the government guidelines. So they are waiting for the government guidelines to come, that what is ethical, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and how the legal fraternity looks at it, and how what will be their legal obligations. So they don't know. So unless they don't know, they don't want to implement. So that is also very important. And moral is a different story, because recently, for example, there was one mobile app which was launched, which was using AI. So they used to take your picture from social media, and they will come out with the equivalent nude photo of that particular person. So that was a very simple AI technology, and mobile app was made, but that was immoral. So similarly, in the medical fraternity also, there can be many applications which relate to the underworld of the medical domain. So those kind of applications need to be uh, means stopped at the first instance. So these are the 3 key challenges. So I think the most important application of AI will be to pre-diagnose any disease, so that people can avoid hospitalization. So already there are a few applications which are popular. For example, Microsoft has developed diabetic recognition early stage. So where they take the scan of your retina, and then there are some applications related to the skin diseases. So if you see, this is another screen where I am showing that the electronic health records in health sector is $1 trillion industry. So if you see, this is a whole ecosystem of any healthcare information in any country. So many of the big companies in developed countries are already having partial systems which implement some of these services. So this involves from patient services, this involves pharmacy services, radiology services, lab services, hospital services, physician services, as well as all the back-end uh, commerce involved in the health sector. So whether it is diagnostic imaging, whether it is drug availability, whether it is doctors themselves, whether at the educational institutions providing medical services. So all are integrated in one go. So you can see the scope of this kind of system, and every subsystem has lot of AI element that can be inbuilt. So that will transform the whole health sector. So means as of now, there is not much time to go into the details of this, but this is a $1 trillion industry, and a lot of big ticket companies are already working on big projects on this. So now I will talk about some of the recent use cases which have transformed the medical industry. So one is that so these two companies, Spirit AI as well as Consort AI, has come up with the new standards for testing health AI. Because if you are doing something new experiments with medical AI, you need to ensure transparency, rigor, as well as reliability. So they have done some survey in US. Only they found that 1% of the 20,000 medical AI people who were doing some testing, they meet the benchmarks of the quality in terms of transparency as well as the quality. So they have developed these protocols where the researchers can clearly explain the intended use of their AI, the version of the algorithm they are using, as well as the input data and the how the model will contribute to the doctor decision. So that means we need such similar standards in the Indian context, so that whoever is trying to implement AI in the healthcare, they can go through that kind of rigorous standards, and our quality of those systems remain intact. So then another benchmark in this case was that the insurance coverage has also now been enabled for AI enabled applications. So there is a specific application called Viz LVO, so which is a smartphone app that can spot the signs of stroke, so the patient can receive the time critical treatment. So it can also classify the blocked blood vessels in the CT scans. So the US government, which is the largest national health insurance plan, has covered this particular application to reimburse the hospitals. So that tells the status of AI in the medical field, that it is not something which is future, it is already there, and some of the applications in non-critical areas are already working. So then there is a working application on some prosthetic leg, and there are applications on prosthetic hands and other body parts also, where the leg learns from the user's motion. So generally what we say is that if we are making some kind of prosthetic element, then we say that it will have a camera and then it will look at the obstacles in front of that. But it is a very innovative technology which is not using that particular concept, but it is using the machine learning to generate a human-like stride. So what it does is instead of trying to recognize the obstacles, it relies on the cues from the user's body. So sensors in the user's hip feed data 1,000 times per second into a processing unit loaded in the unit's calf. So that way means it has already proved the results and many people are using it. So that is also a very important development. If we specifically come to the corona related AI interventions of AI in the medical world, so there is a Chinese company called Infravision, which is detecting signs of pneumonia on lung tissue shown in CT scans. So that is very critical because human technicians are a scarcity in that case. And some municipalities are using natural language processing to parse information from healthcare system, helping to track and trace the virus spread. Similarly, infrared sensor from Athena Security scans crowds for people running a fever. So you don't need to kind of individually check everyone. So even if you are having a crowd going through a particular gate or a particular spot, then that can work out. So a very innovative recent application from patient to health record. So doctors are always overwhelmed by the clerical work. So they have developed a voice assistant. For example, the assistant name is Suki. So if the doctor says Suki, the patient is running a fever and has fluid in their lungs, then it will insert a note in the patient's record. So if the doctor says Suki, show me the patient prescription, then it will retrieve the information for the patient for the doctor. And Suki, I have examined the patient, then it will complete the patient record and full description, and then patient can exit. So that is so simple. So many startups are trying to trace the handwriting of the doctors to do this task, but now this whole process has been bypassed by them, and they means doctor can just speak out and they can find out and do the relevant task. So this can transform the whole industry. So doctors who are using Suki, they spend 70% less time doing clerical work, and it has been already deployed in the health network in US in Ascension and Unified Women's Healthcare. So I think uh, the next speaker is also going to talk about this discovering new medicine in silico, which used an algorithm to sift through petabytes of biochemical data. So using generative tensorial reinforcement learning algorithm, which is the latest innovation. They can create digital representation of molecules with properties that inhibit an enzyme linked to several types of cancer, atherosclerosis and fibrosis. So they produce 30,000 candidates, but with the help of AI, they find out only 6 most promising candidates in no time, which otherwise used to take years. So one of the molecules did inhibit the enzyme in mice. So it attracted partnerships with top pharmaceutical companies. So that's all means I have started with 3 challenges and then given some recent status of the healthcare industry in different elements like diagnosis, electronic health records, as well as finding cure for new diseases. So if there are any questions from the audience, please go ahead.
The forum is open for questions. You may also type your questions on the chat. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Deepak, for sharing your views on this very pertinent and futuristic topic. As you rightly said, this is very much in the present, and the ongoing research has made it extremely vital for the healthcare segment to delve on its importance and look at the loopholes caused by data privacy laws or AI errors versus the manual errors, as you highlighted in your presentation. We now, with these thoughts, we now move on with our next speaker, Dr. Chandra Shekhar. May I welcome you, sir, to share your presentation. No, I'm sorry. We'll have the keynote address by Dr.
Good afternoon.
We'll have the keynote address by Dr. Rahul Garg first.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Shekhar, we will first have the keynote address by Dr. Rahul Garg.
Okay, wonderful.
Dr. Rahul Garg, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Deepak, for a wonderful presentation. I think there are a lot of common things that you talked and that I wanted to chat, and we can probably save some time. I'll skip on few of those points because our audience has already been primed about that. So to begin with, I just wanted to give a little bit of a nomenclature here that we are talking about artificial intelligence, but it is composed of, let's say, on a very broad scale of 2 things: natural language processing, which is essentially machines are able to read the human language and they can read the research papers and stuff and then make meaning out of it. And the second is machine learning. It's essentially mean if we give a lot of data to machine, we give them 10,000 CT scans and tell them which are right and which are wrong, then on the next one, machine can diagnose from itself. That's basically machine learning on itself. So let's start with the why of things. Like, why do we need these technologies? Why do we need AI, machine learning, NLP? Is our current healthcare system not enough? The answer is unfortunately no. From on various levels, if we see within our healthcare system, and this is global, it's not related to any particular country or system. We have an aging population. We don't have enough human capital to serve it. We need, there is a increase in chronic illnesses and lifestyle is getting deteriorated. And so we need somebody, something like an AI to be able to be present everywhere and correct people's behavior. And also right now we are over treating. We don't have enough resources. The transparency in the system is not enough. So if you look at the global news, one of the big things is where is the transparency in the system? If a patient is paying 10 lakh rupees for the treatment, where is that money going? Who's taking how much and how much profit is there? So those kind of things, and AI is definitely helping there. And then eventually, our resources, like I said, administrative staff, our doctors are working like 18 hours, nurses are working 18 hours a day. So can we find out a middle ground where we can free up their time with the help of some technology in there? So these are all the reasons why we need something like this. So coming to use cases, like I said, Deepak has shared almost all the use cases, and this is just another way of putting those use cases and designing clinical trials. We've discussed how companies are shrinking the timeline. Then diagnostic tools. There are now tools which can be used from home, and all the data that goes into the machine can make a diagnosis for you. Personalized medicine, this is a new one. Yeah, this is the latest thing which we are trying to solve. Is earlier, if you have fever, if somebody else has fever, we used to give the same tablet, but now everybody is different, so we need to calibrate the dosage for each and every individual, and we need to personalize that medicine. It's something like tailor-made clothes for everyone. So AI will be helping there. Operational efficiency, hospitals on globally, hospitals are going into red. They are not running on profit because of the humongous use of resources and whatnot. So can technology help us find out how can we run those big machines more effectively? Yes. And then population health. Overall, the goal is for any government to keep their population healthy so that people can contribute towards the GDP of the nation. And AI has promising use cases where it will keep the overall population healthy. But everything we are discussing, it's about 5 to 7 years away from the mainstream application. It's good to see some of those things happening now, anecdotally, but overall, we are 5 to 7 years away. Why I'm saying this 5 to 7 years away? Let's look at the technology adoption curve, especially for AI, ML, or NLP. We are right now at the early adopter stage from a timeline perspective. So artificial intelligence is an old concept. Alan Turing wrote about it years ago in 1940s. And then the big four, the Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple, and even Microsoft, they built out different AI models and NLP models. Right now, companies like Tesla, autonomous driving cars, and then Netflix and media companies, they are using AI very heavily. And this is where we are presently. In the coming few years, we'll see banks and retailers start leveraging this. But then healthcare has usually been a late majority. And for all the reasons that Deepak mentioned, there are ethical hurdles, there are these challenges, those challenges. So anything we discuss in healthcare, is from today, it's 5 to 7 years away. And then there will be 16% part of industry which will come very late on, and usually these are governments and academic institutes which are inherently designed in a way that they are the last ones to pick up any new technology. And that's okay in many sense, because we want to be sure that whatever we are implementing there, that's going to stay for a long time, so it better be right. So I'll skim over these challenges because most of these have been discussed. I'll just touch upon some corporate challenges. Why don't we see too much investments, or why don't we see CEOs getting excited about AI or ML? It's for a very simple reason. A CEO is a CEO maybe for next 5 years, and then AI is a technology which might not be there within 5 years. So they skip this and they focus more on operational efficiency and marketing and other things. The next thing is there is unclear return on investment. It takes a lot of effort to build something, but then will you get your money back? And okay, you build something novel which is going to save lives, but who's going to pay you? Patients might not be paying you. Hospital might not have budgets to pay you. So is it government or is it the employer or insurance company? That's unclear right now. We don't have enough trained human capital like doctors who can code, and data integrity challenges already discussed, regulatory barriers already discussed. So let's move on to the next slide here. Yes, the trends. I want to spend some time here. What are the trends happening in this industry? The first trend, the foremost trend is all the AI that is being developed. You would have seen all the examples in the different news articles. They are all small startups. We don't see big brand names coming up with something really innovative, and there is a reason for that because startups have that kind of stomach that kind of risk, and but at the same time many startups are doing duplicative work. There are many startups who are trying to read ECGs. There are many startups who are trying to read doctors handwriting, and only one will be the winner. The second is corporations struggle because of their big size and their focus on profit making. The big corporates, and that's a trend number two. The big corporates, they struggle to understand how to innovate in this field. So what they are doing is they are going and acquiring some successful startups, and which is a great strategy. We see big companies working with small companies. Either it's by acquisition or merger or acqua hire. They just hire the whole team to do the same thing from their campus. Another trend which is coming up is a siloed developments. We see something is built in New Delhi, then something similar is built in Mumbai, and then something similar is built in San Francisco. But eventually, it's all the same. You are just using some data, some applying some machine learning algorithms, and developing something out of it. So maybe if things could be collaborated, that would have been better. And nobody has an end-to-end solution. Somebody's solving the treatment part, somebody's solving the diagnosis part. So we need a complete solution. So that's where collaboration will really chip in. And the last is emerging markets bloom. So something about these technologies, machine learning and NLP, is they need huge amounts of data to be built. This data is coming, this is basically patient data, health data. And countries like India, China, we have owing to our demographic dividend and owing to our huge population, we have that health data to which can on which the machines can be trained. So most of the companies, although they are based out of US and Canada and Europe, who develop these algorithms, but for the training, they have to come to India and China. So that's the opportunity to establish a non-Silicon Valley epicenter, and then how India can become a breeding ground for training machines. So these are the four big trends happening right now. I found this interesting study that, on PubMed in past 5 years, the number of studies related to healthcare and machine learning and deep learning have like increased by 10 times. And which shows the interest of academia and shows the interest of researchers in this particular field. On the right side, you can see which specialties within healthcare are impacted the most. So number one is oncology, second is pathology, radiology, and then surgery. The thing you will notice about all these fields is they are more related to diagnosis side of it and probably related to newer treatment side of it. There is not much research going on in the operational side of things, so that's an um, opportunity area. And coming to how do we identify those opportunity areas, this is a white chart, white space chart that I developed a couple of years ago when I was working with KPMG. And what we were trying to do is understand that, okay, there are four key players. There's patient, medical staff, there is provider oblique payer, and then there are life sciences companies. And then within the care journey, there is prevention, care, diagnosis, neuro treatment, and efficiency and productivity. So where everyone has their interest aligned. What you will see currently is most of the efforts in AI, they are input by life sciences companies, as the examples were given by Deepak, that and especially in diagnosis and newer treatment options, like reducing the clinical trial time and building new diagnosis modules. So these are the two dark blue areas you can see on the chart. But if you see the patients want that they should never get ill. There should be more prevention, and also they want if they get ill, there should be new treatment options. They shouldn't be told, okay, now there is no treatment for this particular thing, and you can't be treated. What medical staff wants, they want to be able to provide better care to their patients. What providers want, hospitals, they want, first of all, payers want, insurance companies want prevention, and hospitals want more effective and efficiency and productivity in their daily work so that they can save costs. And based on all this analysis, what you're seeing here, we came up with few recommendations which were very much applicable industry-wide within healthcare sector. We said that, okay, prevention, governments are interested in prevention. And so preventive care, government should be investing in all the AI and ML related to preventive care because nobody else is going to. Second is the technologist who's sitting in the lab might not be speaking with the patients or might not be speaking with the doctors or nurses on the ground. So the technology that we develop is not inclusive at present. So it has to be inclusive. We need to engage all these change makers in that particular system. And the last is we are talking about a value-based care where we are delivering more value to our audience or to our clients or customers or consumers, patients. So that value will only come when all of these will converge, when patients, medical staff, providers, insurance companies, and life sciences companies work together to build out a solution. So that's essentially the opportunity map, and it's totally up to a personal interpretation. How do you find your sweet spot? Where do you want to invest your time and effort? But these are my closing thoughts that a lot of people see AI, ML, and NLP. Oh, these are the new solutions, but they are not. They are essentially tools at your hand, which are now available with the help of some technology. They are just the enablers. Uh, Hospitals or corporations or individuals will have to come up with a use case. They will have to come up with a problem statement. I'm trying to solve this. And to solve this, I'll need some help from machines. And then that has to be the approach. It cannot be other way around. Okay, I need to use AI in something to change healthcare. No, that's not the case. So these are my closing thoughts for the session. And thank you. And any questions at this point?
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. So, Dr. Rahul, I'll probably preempt a question. We say that AI is an enabler, but in many jobs it is conceived like, for example, a radiologist job, where one feels that with the advent of high quality AI learning, it can probably replace a senior radiologist job with a technician being able to access the same AI software to quite predictably enforce or state what is happening. Of course, it cannot completely replace, but to a large extent, it may take on the role. So, do you think that there is some during your research with KPMG, there is some prohibition from the user's perspective in advancing these technologies when even the smaller beta versions of solutions are coming in the marketplace?
Yeah, of course, everybody looks at these technologies with a apprehension that am I going to lose my job? But look at the reality. There is a shortage of radiologists in this particular example, and we want to free up their time. They should. And right now, the technology is at a point where machine can only diagnose very simple cases. So why not let the machine diagnose simple cases, and doctors, they focus their time on more complex cases. And that's the approach has been. And doctors will love that because they want to be working on more advanced cases versus diagnosing tuberculosis day after day in, day out. So that's something that a radiologist like. The second thing is that their accuracy increases. So humans make errors. So there are a couple of published papers that when radiologists were given a set of CT scans to diagnose tuberculosis, they were 96% accurate. But when they were given a tool like AI to consult with, they were 98% accurate altogether. And AI on itself was only 92% accurate. So we don't
Okay.
want to replace doctors. We are
Competition.
saying, yeah, we are saying work together. It's just like two doctors working together so that they have better results. So that's the approach we are taking.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Okay. So I think we do not have more questions in the chat. otherwise. So we'll move forward first with the awards and then with the presiding remarks by Dr. Shekhar. Dr. Chandra Shekhar, with your due permission, I would like to announce awards for today's session. We would have
Yeah,
loved to.
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We would have loved to present in person, but due to COVID, this has to be done virtually now. So our first award is CIBioD Best Innovation Promotion in Academics. This award goes to Dr. Anita Kaushal, Principal and Professor, Postgraduate Government College for Girls, Sector 11, Chandigarh. May I request Dr. Shivani to kindly give a brief bio and introduce Dr. Anita Kaushal to us. Dr. Shivani?
So, Mrinal, I'll do that.
Okay. I think Dr. Shivani is not there.
Dr. Anita Kaushal has earned her doctorate in the field of humanities. She is a well-known name for her efforts in the area of women education and empowerment. Many, many congratulations, ma'am.
Many congratulations, ma'am. We move on to our next award, which is the CIBioD Best Affordable Healthcare Innovation Award. And this award goes to Asian Institute of Gastroenterology, Hyderabad. I'll give a brief bio on the Asian Institute of Gastroenterology. Asian Institute of Gastroenterology has been established as a concept of daycare unit where major endoscopic surgical procedures could be done on an outpatient basis without resorting to hospitalization. In the recent years, the institute has become one of the largest referral centers in Asia for therapeutic endoscopy. It has been credited of doing the largest number of ERCP procedures in the world. The institute is one of the few centers in the country doing endoscopic ultrasonography, endoscopic sewing, capsule endoscopy, etc. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We now move on with our session, and I welcome Dr. Chandra Shekhar for his presiding remarks.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and congratulations for holding this conference at such a demanding times that we are doing it virtually, and congratulations for doing it so wonderfully. I, coming from Apex Biomedical Research Organization, ICMR, would want to say that we are the oldest organization in the world in the biomedical research. We completed our centenary in 2011, and we are more than 109 years old. We are the biggest biomedical funding organization in the country, and we have been funding epidemiology, non-communicable diseases, basic medical sciences, reproductive health, socio-behavioral research, and other research in the recent past. But for last 6-7 years, we have created a new division which is known as the Innovation and Translation Research division in the ICMR. We promote the innovations and the translation research so that people are able to use those innovations and be benefited by that. In last 2 years, we have also added one more tool in our feather, which is the artificial intelligence and machine learning. That is what we are talking about today. It is a very powerful tool as far as healthcare industry is concerned, and it does benefit the people in the community, and it also helps the national programs for meeting their objectives. I want to say that this is a very, very powerful tool, but we have to be very, very clear as to the limitations in terms of its accuracy, its implementation, and its sustainability. That is what we are discussing today. To make it sustainable, we have to devise such tools in artificial intelligence and machine learning that are nearly foolproof, because we are dealing with humans. Any error in interpretation or delivery would not be desirable thing. And that is something that we need to be very, very careful. And I'm sure people have taken adequate care for this. and would be more sensitive and take extra care so that we are able to minimize the fallacies in interpretation, fallacies in delivery of these services, and other related issues. I want to take this opportunity to let everybody know in this conference and beyond that we would be funding projects in the area of artificial intelligence and machine learning in coming weeks and coming months. That would give a very good opportunity for researchers in this area to avail of this funding and take the ideas and their concepts forward, because that would help the people in getting access to the technologies and the tools that are developed. We in ICMR, I can assure you, would be forthcoming to help people to take their ideas further. And if they have ideas, we want to consolidate that. And we will also be a very good organization to work with as far as the validation and improvements on those technologies are concerned. With these few words, I wish all the best, and I wish Dr. Varinder Garg very, very best, and congratulate him personally and his team for organizing this such a wonderful workshop. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra Shekhar. It was a pleasure to have all of you amongst us today for a very enlightening session on AI and ML in the segment of healthcare. I thank everyone for their presence and their valuable insights on this session today. We will now close the session.